iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them four abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaw.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Monza, Watkins Glen, Brands Hatch, these are all regulars on the Lotus 49 schedule. But today will be a completely new track. Barcelona is iRacing's latest addition to their road racing repertoire, and as such, this week is the first time any of our drivers have driven this combo in official racing. Will it shake things up for our championship? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 7 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, and you'll see it all live on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. While our Lotus 49 didn't race here since it wasn't built until well later in F1 history, the beauty of sim racing means that we can see what it may have been like anyways. But before we can take the cars to the track, let's get a closer look at what Catalunya has to offer. Welcome to Circuit de Barcelona. The home of the Spanish Grand Prix for nearly 30 years, it's easy to forget that this is a relatively recently built track in Europe. It's known for its long, sweeping corners and hosts the highest level of open-wheel and motorcycle racing. Placing an emphasis on a good aerodynamic setup with high downforce cars, it's often overlooked that it offers plenty of overtaking for lower-tier racing as well. In fact, most don't take into account that this adaptable track has 5 different layouts to choose from. These range from the nearly 3-mile-long Grand Prix version to the minuscule 1-mile club circuit. Because of the pit straight being the longest acceleration zone, Elf is the most likely spot for drivers to get it past them. After that, your next hope might be into La Caixa, which, depending on which layout you use, could be a sharpened set of 2 turns or one long hairpin with an opening radius. In the early 2000s, a chicane was added close to the end of the lap, but the old Europe car corner can still be run. The Spanish fans have some gorgeous views from the many hills dotted along the track. And with the international fame this place has built over time, it's no wonder they're almost always full come race day. Love the detail that iRacing has put into this track. They continue to get better and better. But Adam, what about this car and this track together? What are we looking at between them?
Well, you're looking at a car that can sometimes be hard to put the power down. So when you're coming out, especially these sweepers where you're having to turn and accelerate at the same time, it could get a little tricky at times for these guys. So corner exits more than corner entries, I think, are going to be the trick to being able to run up front here for today. Of course, running 16 turns around this place, 2.94 miles, 4.73 kilometers. It's a track that has a lot of history, but none of it, as you mentioned, Joe, involving the Lotus 49, because this track really wasn't even completed until 1991, which is well past the heyday of these Lotus 49s. We're more into Ayrton Senna's time frame at this point. But overall, though, still a facility that puts on some great racing, but you're going to have to take advantage of the passing opportunities when you have them.
Let's see how that all works out for our drivers. But Let's also take a look at how the drivers sit in the championship thus far with our F1 driver points. Up at the top, it has been Rob Olenek. He's only not won 2 of the races, one of which he didn't show up to. The other, he got a second place. So his 2 drop weeks means he's got a perfect score right now. Marco Kika is the best position to try and take advantage of running him down. But you can see Pavlowski in there. Roman has been the one that has been very close on track most times, and we expect him to maybe try and challenge. Now, if Stefan Seitweger shows up more, he could potentially still be in this championship as well. Let's take a look at the F2 championship. From what I understand, Adam, that's a little bit closer.
Yeah, by a little bit, we mean a lot of it. Get that up here on the board. And it's really anybody right now, I think, in the top 3, as we run down the back end of the season here, really has a decent chance at this F2 championship. Bill Tyler only 6 points behind David Rossi. And Pascal Tremblay only about 10 points behind now. Andreas Brano and Don Good, they still have an outside chance, but they need a few things to go their way here down the stretch. Still, though, very hotly contested for the F2 championship.
And then, of course, there's also the Nations Cup. This is their Constructors' Cup, but they do it like they did in 1967, and it was by country back then. United States naturally are leading pretty well, but it's over the UK who are running in second right now. They've had multiple drivers come in. They tend to have a good presence in this series. Finland was getting up there, but right now they're down in 4th. I expect with Marco Kika continuing to get better and better, he will help bring Finland forward. And then Austria rounding out your top 5, a little ways back from them. What about today's race details? You had already talked about a little bit about how this car interacts with this track. What are they doing out on the track?
Well, of course, this is round 7. So as we mentioned, we're now in the back half of the season. Some guys will maybe try to have things go their way and their fortunes change because, hey, a lot of guys are trying to break it up into 2 seasons. Well, now we're in that second part. 21 laps out there here for today. This is an open setup official league, so these guys can adjust what they can on the car, which with the Lotus 49 isn't as much as some of the modern cars, but definitely a lot more than, say, your Skip Barber, for sure. Incident limit is 17 being an official race. So with lap times out there, Joe, of about 1:42, those 21 laps should go by pretty quick.
Certainly should. Not many have managed to get laps in, though, here in qualifying, which we'll talk about in a second. Before that, we want to remind you that you're watching this on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe when you get an opportunity. It's very easy. All you got to do is go to their YouTube page, or just right below this video, if you're on YouTube right now watching, there's a big red button. That means you haven't subscribed yet. Click it. You won't miss a moment here on IESN. Peter Mikus is currently at the top. A bit of a surprise. Well, I'd say take that back. Kane Lasky just puts it on provisional pole. I was going to say Rob Olenek, who's been very, very quick, was on the front row, and now he is bumped down to 3rd by that. And now make that Mick Claridge up on the top. He looked fast in warm-up, but he doesn't feel that confident from what he's telling us about actually doing well in the race. So we'll see how he does getting back out on track and shaking off the rust.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I've learned, Joe, that those guys that say that, I'm only going to get a podium, or I'm only going to get a top 5, they usually, I think, are either lying to you or they don't realize how good they actually are sometimes. So that's what I expect out of Mick Claridge here for today. He's got himself a decent car, it looks like, underneath him.
Absolutely. As we watch Rossi and Worth now come across. Worth's second lap, not an improvement. What about Olenek? He's coming around to try and complete this second lap. I've seen a few drivers with some blank times, and you can get off tracks around here with it being a modern F1 course, and there being plenty of paved runoff, but it's not quicker for Olenek. He's only going to be starting 4th today. Bit of a surprise there.
Yeah, that's for sure. Kane Lasky, though, getting ready to, I think he's getting ready to come down the front straightaway here in just a moment. Yep, he is rounding New Holland now, and he's second on the grid. We'll see if he's able to improve it, maybe overlap Mick Claridge. Could be a pole run here.
It is a
Not
41.8.
quite.
And Mick can actually improve on his time, but it looks like he went a little wide there.
Went wide there. He gave up on it too.
Watching Yeomans, he is on his second lap, but he's down in 20th is the number 14. And his bright yellow car has got a little bit of work to do, sitting at a 147 flat. And as he crosses, it is a 46.3, an improvement by 0.7. But I do not see him going up the timing sheet, so that was not enough to get him higher on the chart.
Yeah, I think the next... no, right, he's just out there running practice. I was going to say Tremblay might be, but yeah, he's just running practice. So Matt Morris now coming down. Got him on your screen. See what he's going to be able to do. He's got about 30 seconds before he's able to get back to the start-finish line here.
Might be a little bit tight. The finish line does come very early on the straightaway as they do it of the modern F1 style at this track, but that big old slide is certainly not going to help him improve that 44 flat. So let's see if he's any tidier around the last two. Europe car looks pretty decent. Now into New Holland. Oh, another little bit of a slide on entry for the number 10. He is going to be able to cross the line, but that one didn't count. So that should be everybody. Let's go through our starting order here for round 7 today. Mick Claridge has put it on the pole on his return. Kane Lasky is starting in at second with Peter Mikus in P3. Then you've got Rob Olenek on the outside of row 2. He's got some work to do if he wants to take another victory and keep that perfect score up. Marco Kika is in P5 with Daniel Sadro starting in 6th. Borja Valero Casal will be starting in 7th. Ian Haycox starts P8. Then you've got Bill Tyler on the inside of row 5 and 9th. Pascal Tremblay starts in 10th.
Yeah, looking back into the second group here, Bruce Nelson and Terry Worth will be starting alongside each other in row 6. Nicholas Morelli and David Rossi in row 7. Row 8's going to go to Eric Lukel and Matt Morris. We saw Matt Morris there, giving us a good idea what it's going to take here to wheel that car around. Don Good, the American, and Boris Stracula in row 9. Row 10's going to go Andres Bruna and Matt Yeomans.
Andrew Ang was the last driver to get a time in. Everybody else starting in the back has been sorted by their iRating. Bentley, Coker, Bean, and Romero are your last drivers in this 25-car field. Relatively large fields. Good to see attendances up, even though it's a newer track. Sure, certainly is a fun one. But a bit of a question mark, because we haven't seen cars of this type, as they're very unique, racing around here yet on the channel. See them all lining up on the grid, and actually it looks like they're all already out there. So the engines start to rev, the lights are up, green flag is out here for round 7, and Mick Claridge gets a decent start. Not so for Kane Lasky, because here comes the outside of Peter Mikus with a great shot. Could he maybe go for the lead? No, he looks a little bit too far back, as everybody already braking for Elf. A little bit of 3 wide in the mid pack. Almost getting together for second place, but they managed to weave their way through this first chicane, and it looks like it's clean.
Yeah, Mick Claridge had himself a great jump out there. I'm looking through the field right now to see if we have any major problems going through Elf and Renault. And it does look like we at least got 2 cars around, which we'll go to in a little bit. But other than that, rest of the field clean.
It looked like Worth got hit by Tremblay, and then someone else got involved. I'm not entirely sure. We got more down after Renault. Looks like that was Casal, and couldn't see who the other 2 were, but 3 cars out in the gravel. As you can see, our leaders already coming through Worth.
Yeah, lap times are going to go by very quick here for today, which that works, I think, in favor of Mick Claridge. And as long as the second place is under contention here with Kane Lasky and Peter Mikus, that's going to just open up the door, I think, even more for Mick Claridge.
Mikus got to go down in Lakaja, but it didn't work out. Lasky fending off the inside. This brings Rob Olenek into it as well. He probably won't mind them fighting, and that'll give him opportunities to sneak through. Oh, but way wide. Peter Mikus coming off of Europe car. There is paved runoff there, but that'll be an incident point, I'm sure. And once again, just struggling with these final 2 corners onto the front stretch. This is not where he wants to be. Slow. Olenek has the inside as they come down to Elf. This could be 3rd place for our current points leader, but he's not quite brave enough on the brakes yet. Just managing to sneak through at the apex. He's got the inside as they come up to Renault. Has he got this done, though?
He does not quite yet. I think Peter Mikas is also close enough here to where he's going to be able to, maybe try to re-challenge Rob Olenek for that position. Olenek sliding a little bit. Mikas has to get off the gas. Not only does that slow up Mikas, it actually slowed up Kika behind him and Sadro as well. In fact, Sadro now under attack from Ian Haycox. Ian Haycox runs the corner. But this battle here, this is a nice little pack, and here comes Mikas coming back on Rob Olenek.
Olenek went way wide and say out, and now they go side by side through Worth. Not usually a good idea. They get out the other side. Kika slowed up by that. Sadro taking a poke as they come through Kampsa, and neither of them are able to change positions, but Mikus gets the run off the right-hander. This time gets the inside on Olenek down into Lakaija, but he's just not far enough alongside.
Oh, Peter Mikas now really sideways through the heat. That's one of the things we were worried about, having power, getting down to some of these sweeping corners. He was able to get it back under control without losing a lot of time, but even then, he could have had a run.
It's been a fantastic battle. We're watching from on board. Mikus now looking up at Olenek. This time it's reversed. It's Mikus who gets the shot off the final turn. Ducks to the inside. Olenek does not defend. Down into the braking zone of Elf. Once again, Mikus looking good on the binders, but coming back mid-apex, Rob Olenek going to defend from the long way around. He's going to shut the door into Renault, and he keeps that 3rd spot.
That's the key right now. I think Rob Olenek is much better in these the slow speed corners where Mikus is a little bit better in the sweepers. So that could be a difference. And is Rob Olenek right there having to snap that car back into place. You have the Lotus 49, if you've never driven it, it's about 90% throttle control is getting around. And the point I'm trying to make is that I think right now, Mikus' throttle control, I think, is a little bit better than Rob Olenek.
This has been great for both Lasky and Claridge, who pulled away by about 2 seconds ahead of these two. Claridge running in first and Lasky running in second. That could become a battle because they're less than a second apart, but we'll stick with this for now.
Yeah, and I would actually say Lasky is gaining a lot on Mick Claridge, so we'll have to pay close attention to that. That could develop pretty quickly. But the battle's still on the racetrack, as you mentioned, is Olenek and Mikus.
Thankfully, the temperature is not as high as we saw the last time we covered a race here. Well, not the last time, the first time, rather. You can see 95 or 94 degrees Fahrenheit. We had as high as 142 on the track surface the first time we came here. It was a Spanish summer.
Yeah, I'm gonna, for our European friends, I need to go look, do the conversion quick.
On screen, that was Miku's nearly getting into the gearbox of Olenek and managed not to hit him. We're getting awful close between those two.
So to give people that may not be as familiar with the Fahrenheit scale, that is about 61 degrees Celsius. Oh. So that's a lot.
Yeah. Down and through Repsol. Still, this fight continues. I think they're coming up on some lap traffic there. That is Bill Tyler just pulling out of everybody's way. In fact, he's going to come to a halt to let all of the front runners through before he gets himself a gap. Olenek now finally starting to get himself a little bit safer from Mikus. Now, before he was climbing all over the rear suspension of that number one, Mikus has a slight gap. Looking back because of that, 13th, whoa, we got a big incident just behind 13th. Two cars cutting the course. That's Good and Bruno sliding their way through Worth.
It honestly looked like Don Good did it. His back end broke loose. He slid through the corner, and then Bruno was like, "That looked fun. Let me do the same thing."
They thought that the rallycross course was over here. Apparently,
yeah, apparently. I mean, I've tried the Lotus 49 on some of the rallycross courses just for giggles, but I mean, I didn't think anybody actually tried pulling it off in an actual race.
Well, they both managed to keep going, and you're right about Lasky. He's now down to 4/10. That is half the gap, cut in half since we last looked. We're on board with Lasky here. And you know, one of the nice things is, since we are in this older machinery, is one of the things that people often bemoan around this track is in modern F1, it's so hard to follow closely. Well, no such problem here, Adam.
No, you're not punching as big of a hole in the air. You don't have the arrow push or anything like that going on, and it's it can be definitely not an aerodynamic race, and that's what you're seeing. You can run right up underneath somebody, and I know that you might even see this a little bit in Michigan here in a few weeks, Joe. That if you aim your nose just right at somebody's gearbox, you can actually push them in this car and not lose downforce doing it. Now, obviously, with the power to weight ratio, I would not do that in the corner at all. In fact, I really wouldn't even do it at all, but you could see it.
I think I'll pass on trying that. Thank you.
Maybe in practice. Talking about practice.
Well, I think Lasky's going to need some practice overtaking Claridge, because as close as he's gotten, he's not been really making huge inroads. Now, I did have a little bit of word from Claridge saying that he was going to try and lower the pressures to get himself the good start, just so that he can ensure that he gets the lead off the line and then play defensive from there. And you could, well, there it is right there, just as I say it. Lo and behold, Mick Claridge starting to take a little bit of an alternate line to keep Lasky from going on the attack.
Yeah, and Lasky has such a big run right now. I'm not sure how long he'll be able to clear him off, hold him off.
Ooh, and implications for the F2 championship. That's Tremblay to the outside of Morelli, and Morelli is going to take 11th away. Oh, or is he? Back to the inside, looking for the over-under. Tremblay manages to get in there in Renault, and it's going to be another right-hander up to Repsol. He's fully alongside him now with a shorter distance, but he's got to get it woed up in time, and he does. Some clever driving from the 22.
Tremendous battle on your screen right there. That's the kind of racing that this car track combo is going to be putting on. And I really think that even just a few short laps around here, and in watching today's race, I think this track's getting ready to become a favorite for a lot of these Lotus 49 guys. They seem like they're having a lot of fun out there, and able to move the car and able to drive it and still maintain race.
Yeah, and I kind of worried, admittedly, since there's not a lot of very sharp corners, that maybe passing would be tough. But like you said, the racing has been good, and he gets into the back of him. Tremblay takes a shot from Morelli, who goes into the wall. He might be damaged the way that car is struggling to get going here. He is off pace as we watch the replay. Like he just didn't quite anticipate the braking of the car ahead.
That's that's tough, and there's no way he didn't come out of that with damage. Hey, this when we come out of replay, this battle between Claridge and Lasky is heating up. Lasky's almost right there. Claridge last time around ran a 42-1, while Lasky was about the same. But you know who's going to be the surpriser here? If Lasky can't get Claridge sorted out real quick, Olenek gained 0.7 of a second, or 0.6 of a second on him, rather, that last lap. So Olenek is trying to join this battle for the lead.
He might, if these two start going side by side as they come down into Worth. You know, one thing I love watching, especially when we get these head-on angles into the braking zones, it reminds me a lot of the Cup cars racing on road courses. Adam, you see these noses absolutely dip almost to the ground as they get on those binders.
You know, and that's one thing that you'll see some guys with a little bit of nose damage, and it doesn't really affect them too much aerodynamically, but the curves are high enough that when that nose dips down, if you happen to hit one of the high curves at about the same time, it will ding up your nose just a little bit. So as we've discussed, though, thankfully aerodynamics not that big of a role in these cars.
Could still get a slipstream from them, though, and Lask is looking like this is his best chance to do so. Claridge knows it. He immediately goes all the way to the inside. Look at that, almost to the pit wall, as they now go side by side up into Elf.
Oh, they
almost banging wheels.
Oh, they did touch a little bit.
And coming the long way around, pulling a little bit of spirit of Ayrton Senna, Kane Lasky managing to take the lead away from Claridge. Wow.
Claridge got right back to the gearbox there, Lasky as well. And I think he was just thinking he might be too close. Didn't want to have an incident there. Lasky's going to drift a little high. Claridge able to hold it down low, but even then, that drive out of the corner, that's what Lasky gets. And that's, if he can't come back on him real quick, he might set sail here.
Certainly seems like it. And I tell you what, could be bad news for Olenek as well, because we don't know what the raw pace of Lasky is compared to Olenek now that he's got clear air. He could have been hoping that those two would be fighting a little bit longer. Claridge at least stayed within 0.3 of a second as they come down to Lakaja. You can see behind them, these three have dropped from Peter Mikus, who's about 1.5 seconds back in 4th place. So it is essentially a 3-car breakaway for the podium.
And right now, they're going to do their best to try to settle it amongst themselves. But already seeing is, you look at Claridge punch one of the cones right there, already seeing Lasky start to edge out a little bit. Now, here coming down the front straightaway, here comes that slipstream you're talking about. You still do have a little bit of a hole in the air to use. And really not seeing Claridge really being able to use that to his advantage.
That pass not happening. I did catch out of the corner of my eye, there was a good battle between Kika and Haycox just about 40 to 50 seconds ago. This was through Lakaja and Bonk Sabadell. Wonder if we could get a replay of this. They almost came together at one point. You see Ian just going to find himself going a little bit wide trying to catch the car, and there's Kika looking to take advantage of it, tries to turn into the corner, and there's a car there. So he has to settle back into that 7th position, Ian retaining 6, but still very closely followed by the number 7.
Ooh, Lasky grabs a little bit of grass. Sorry to pull away. He got really sideways, and I actually think Claridge backed out of the backed out of the gas just a touch to make sure that he didn't end up running him over, but that could have been Claridge's last really good chance.
Yeah, that was through Campsa that happened, and great catch by the number 6. Kane Lasky also on the return and looking like he could take away the victory, but this is going to be hard fought. We're not even halfway through this race yet. We've already had a change for the lead, and it's looking like this gap of only 1 second between 1st to 3rd is not looking to separate very soon. More defensive moves from Lasky, trying to break the slipstream of Mick Claridge. And Haycox just got passed by Kika. This happened out of New Holland, the final corner. Let's take a look at how this went down.
Yeah, while we're switching to that replay, just in that top 3, the fastest car is still Olenek.
And that's some wheel spin off the corner. Hands it over on a silver platter. Marco Kika moves up to 6th now.
Saw a car in the tire barriers behind them on that. I'm trying to find out who that was.
Well, he's looking for that. There you see the 7 still leading in 6th place now. but our top three now down to 0.8 of a second. Getting awful close down into Lakaja. I don't think McClarage is falling back. I'm not sure if it is the draft that is helping to stay with him, or if their pace is just this close. Whatever the case, he's keeping Lasky honest.
How about we go back in the pack a little bit here for a battle that's going on? How about Colin Bentley and Terry Worth, 12th, 13th, and 14th, with Don Good back there as well. Of course, he's involved in the F2 championship. So these guys have been going at tooth and nail for a little while.
Oh, sorry, the lead is side by side down. And Claridge got a good run, and he had the inside. And it's going to be the outside of the second half of Elf. Then it switches back into Renault, where he gets the lead back. And look at that. Olenek having a popcorn view. He's going to look to the inside, thinking maybe he could sneak by Lasky down into Repsol. He's got the inside of the corner. He's given space, and he's got the grip on the racing line up into second place. Lasky falls to third within one lap. This could be the first for Olenek as he gets to the inside down into Seat. A sneak attack move on Mick Claridge, and Rob Olenek is going to go from third to first in just a few corners.
I don't think Mick Claridge was going straight down the track once through four corners right there. It's amazing he held on the way he did. And by the way, Peter Mikus set the fastest lap of the race that last time by, which was not necessarily great timing for these guys to start battling hard, because he is there now as well. We got a four-car fight for the lead.
A little wide for Olenek coming through Lakaja, but nothing for those two behind them. This just spiced up a treat with still 10 laps to go, this time by at the line. And this all kicked off with a good slipstream down the front stretch from Mick Claridge. Now he's in second once again. Can he pull the same move, but this time managed not to lose the lead right away? Oh, that was a horrible exit out of New Holland. Great news for Olenek, but bad news for Claridge.
Yeah, Olenek opens up to just a little bit of a lead, just a few tenths, but it seems like that front straightaway is where these guys are really clamping down and using that slipstream to their advantage here, as Claridge is able to stay right there. Lasky and Mikus, this is a tremendous fight here, and I don't think Olenek's going to be able to run away from him. He's one of the fastest cars on track, but I don't think he's going to be able to run away.
I guess these long straights are just long enough to keep everybody in tow. Look at them all struggle to get on the power out here. The temperature has not changed since we last looked. Oh, that was a big mistake, though, from Peter Mikus. The four-car train broken up slightly, but I don't think it is the end of it. Down through Kampsa into one of the longer acceleration zones. Down towards Lakaja. Once again, Mick Claridge just not looking good on corner exit. He knows it. He went a little bit defensive, but Lasky wasn't close enough to capitalize.
Olenek makes a mistake. He really slides through there.
There's been
a little bit of contact.
That was Lasky into the back of Claridge. There have been a lot of mistakes up at the front. And while I know Mick had told me he expected a mistake-riddled race just because he felt maybe a little bit rusty compared to the others around him, I'm surprised at some of those like Lasky and Olenek.
Well, they can't be that mistake-free. I mean, they're sitting there right now with an 8-second lead on Daniel Sadro, at least going back from Mikus to Sadro. So they're making less mistakes than the other guys at this point. And let's lead into that this tight race is Lasky is right back on Claridge once again.
We've switched over here. Rossi and Worth, as well as Colin Bentley back there, all very close together. And this is looking great for Colin Bentley at the tail of these three. And you can see he's getting a double toe, but not enough of one, because down to the inside goes Terry Worth, covering him off while also going on the attack of Rossi, but nobody able to make the pass among them.
Mick Claridge is off. Something happened. I think he blew up. He blew up when he was going corner exit. Or no, though, that was just smoke from getting off in the grass. But he's parked it. He's done.
Huh. I'm not sure, because I know he solved his issues he was having with his Rift. Not sure what exactly the issue is, but that is indeed the end of Mick Claridge for today. He's taking it to the pits. As we come back to the lead, it's now become a 3-car fight, and even then, it's broken up significantly. Lasky falls back to about a second, and Peter Mikus, what happened to Peter? He's 2 seconds back. Look at that.
Yeah, that's well, what happened was that he got slowed up there by Claridge. Whenever Claridge was having some issues and decided to pull off. But there was also a little bit of contact going back there right when we switched to the other battle that I think kind of slowed up the back half of that group. But if they got all back together from about this far back once before, they could probably do it again. But, of course, time running out.
We also had another wreck in that battle that we were watching before we switched back. Worth with a little bit of contact himself, both with Rossi and Bentley. I think this was about a minute ago into Seat. Let's take a look at this, and I think it was big suspension damage for Terry Worth just a little bit before this, maybe about 20 seconds earlier. Here it is right here. He gets into the back of Rossi, and then Bentley clatters into him. You could see the car actually get off the ground, and that was enough to send him all the way into the wall.
Oof. So one thing about these Lotus 49s is they don't like concrete too much.
Especially not tire to tire. So Lasky may have dropped back from Olenek, but he's cut it down to about 9/10 of a second as they come across the line one more time. But they're now down to 7 laps to go. Kane has really got to hustle, and he's going to have a fight on his hands because Olenek certainly knows how to win from what he's shown this season. Meanwhile, Mikus, I just saw put the fastest lap of the race down behind them.
Yeah, these guys are Mikus once again. I think just kind of trying to reclaim that crown of fastest lap of the race. He had it earlier, and he's gaining on Lasky, and Lasky gaining on Olenek. In fact, he really gained here. He's gained a lot this last lap. Lasky is almost there, starting to fill up Olenek's mirrors a little bit more.
3 more tenths cut off by the number 6. We ride on board with Lasky. Now, he's been blinking a bit on my screen. It looks like our director is getting that as well. So that's not going to be good if they start fighting close.
Yeah, he's been doing that most of the race. So, and I think Olenek's seen it a few times. So I wouldn't be surprised, unless we're getting down to like the last lap or so here, Olenek may give him just a little bit more room if a pass starts to happen.
Still hovering at about 0.6 of a second as they come out of Blanc Sabadell. If he gets a good slipstream down the front stretch, that could really reel him in. Let's see what kind of exit each of them get out of New Holland. And on the throttle, Olenek once again looking pretty solid. Now, behind them in 10th position, I mentioned that Colin Bentley getting into the back of Worth broke that battle up, but it has allowed him to close up on David Rossi, still within about 0.3 of a second. And weave through the back and forth of Lakaja and Blanc Sabadell, looking around the outside, very strong through that section. In fact, strong enough that he's going to get to the inside of Europcar, not usually a place that you can see passes, still wheel to wheel as they come through New Holland and onto the front stretch. But with the wider run, it looks like David Rossi able to really open up the wheel and fend him off.
It's going to be tough for him to.
Oh, who was that in the background? That was Don Good.
Ooh, that has F2 championship implications.
Talked about getting on the throttle off these long corners, and poor Don Good discovered the difficulty. Just out of the corner of my eye, I saw him fly into the air.
Oh, we got another one rolling around here.
Stratula, I think. Yeah, we'll watch it after this replay. For Stratula in 17th. And this happened in Elf. Oh, he made contact. This was with Coker. This was for position. That's Coker ahead that you see.
A little bit of net code, but you'll see him slide in there, and he'll still has the momentum on Coker. Just touch wheels and up and over.
As we come back live, let's head back to Kane Lasky, because it has now been chopped down to 0.2 of a second. And we are down to 5 laps to go. Olenek is under serious pressure, but he's been here before, and he's dealt with it well. And again, only managed to lose one race that he showed up for. That was the very first round at Monza, but that's a pretty different track from this one.
Entirely different. I mean, a lot more drafting, a lot more, you have a few chicanes in there, like really tight chicanes, but you do still have your sweeping corners. I think the sweeping corners is probably the most similar part, but other than that, 2 totally different facilities. So he's showing his mantle here, that's for sure.
Mikus is still hovering. You'll catch flashes of him on the screen. The number 5 is about 1.5 seconds behind. And once again, have to imagine that he's waiting and hoping that those two will start to tussle. Maybe 4 to go, this time by at the line. This is the closest Lasky has been in a while. It's just going to be close enough for the slipstream. He's using every inch of the track off the corner, and he is going to start pulling him in, but I'm not sure if the straightaway is long enough.
He's going to try to make it long enough, sneaking his nose to the inside there. Not able to do anything with him yet.
He was given space. Olenek not trying to chop him off quite yet. And Kane Lasky stays in 2nd place, but he's given Rob something to think about. Oh, and this time Rob goes defensive. Down into Repsol, holding the inside line. That worked out better for him last time, and I think he knew that. Lasky a little bit off the racing line. This is indeed bringing Mikus in. Remember that 1.5 seconds? It's now down to 0.9.
These guys really slowing up. Rob Olenek ran one of his better laps in the last few laps that last time by. So did Kane Lasky. But fastest car on the racetrack is still Peter Mikus at a 41.4, while the rest of these guys are running 41.6s and 7s.
This is great news for Mikus. Oh, down through Lakaija. He goes wide, and Kane Lasky says thank you very much, while Olenek has to continue to battle with Mikus so that he doesn't lose 2nd place as well. He keeps that P2 with Mikus right there behind, and if Mikus gets a decent run out of New Holland, this is certainly going to give him a chance down into Elf.
I think right now that might have just handed this win off to Kane Lasky. But even Kane Lasky, I mean, he's got to be mistake-free the next couple of laps. As you saw with Olenek, one little mistake is going to cost you a lot of time.
No attempt from Mikus. But we had a change between Lucal and Tremblay. This was down into Lakaija just now. Oh, actually, you know what? Lucal was trying to make the pass on Tremblay and overestimated the brakes on the Lotus 49. Here's the replay. This not only gave the position back, but handed one more position away as Bruce Snelson. You're going to see him the 3rd car in line there. He'll sneak through. So great excitement happening in the mid-pack as well. As we come back live, Olenik's got it back down to 0.5 of a second. Clearly struggling a bit, though, with that mistake that we saw. Next time by the line, it will be the penultimate lap. Olenik once again sending it a little bit deep with an early apex down into Lakaja, and I'm wondering if that's hurting him a little bit through that corner.
Yeah, and that's causing him a lot of time, and that's, I think, the difference right now. And it even seems like even now he's having trouble getting some of the power down.
Yeah, it is still about 0.7 of a second. He's going to need to be much, much closer if he wants to go on the attack on Lasky. Unless we get a mistake from Kane, I'm with you. I think this is Kane's to lose. Through the corner, though, behind them, Peter Miku's looking like he's not as strong as well.
Yeah, once Olenek sliding again. Miku's almost following him there. But as soon as Olenek got in front of Mikus and that whole thing happened where he was trying to avoid Olenek while he was sliding, and he just hasn't been able to put down good lap times since. So either being slowed up a little bit by Olenek or just maybe burned off his tires.
Stick with this until the end with it being close. That car off track, that was Chris Bean that we just saw. He gets it going once again. Single car incident out of Kampsa. Oh man, Mikus just cannot get the throttle down, but neither can Rob Olenik. Lasky holding them at an arm's length, and they're going to get the white flag this time by.
Still do have the lap car and Nicholas Morelli coming up that they'll probably catch here by the time they come back around.
Ooh, I think Mikus might have a chance here on the front stretch, depending on how he does. Coming off the corner, we ride on board with Peter, and I think Olenik knows that he's in trouble. He weaves to try and break that draft, comes back to the inside to cover him off. Now back to the racing line. It's a good thing they don't have a single move rule here. But regardless, it looks like that Mikus is not able to take advantage.
Just to give you an idea, that last lap from Kane Lasky was a 41.89. These other guys, Olenek was a 41.67 and 41.56 from Mikus. So Mikus and Olenek are faster, but not fast enough unless Lasky makes a mistake.
Mikus was having to think about a pass, and he's going to have another one coming down to the Seat. Once again, not able to get on the binders well enough. Morelli, who you mentioned, is just ahead. Could this maybe play a pick for one of them? Could it slow up one of the leaders and offer a chance to try and get by here on the final lap of round 7? Out of Kampsa, they're getting close. Morelli's not pulling over yet. He's not going to have good opportunities to try to pull out of the way through here. Maybe right here. Is he going to stay off the side? Yes, indeed. Great heads up by the 19. Lets all three through without drama. Oh, speaking of drama, almost get into the back of him. Peter Mikus clips the rear tire of Olenik, but manages not to turn him. This is going to slow both of them up, allowing Kane Lasky a clear run to the line, raising Kane up to first. We get a win for the number 6 today for Kane Lasky here in Barcelona. Second to Olenik, third to Mikus.
Sadro is going to come away with an easy 4th place here in just a moment. Nobody in contention for him. Looking at 5th, that's about the same for Ian Haycox. Marco Kika, comes 6th. Tremblay's going to come home 7th with Snelson 8th, Lucal 9th, and looking back at Bentley in 10th, and then back to 11th. This is where we have our first real battle coming to the line in just a few minutes, Joe, with David Rossi, Bruno, and Yeomans.
Yeah, Rossi, the leader of that trio. These three have been relatively close for a while. Don't forget Terry Worth back there. That is also for position. So 4 cars all in a line. And some of the last ones on the lead lap. Getting awful close, but it's a short run to the finish line for Yeomans. Bruno could keep him back as long as he's decent off the corner. Out of New Holland, a little bit slow for Rossi, but I don't see anybody changing hands, so they're going to stay in order. That's going to be the last of our drivers to cross the line, with Ang and Coker, the final ones on the lead lap. We'll take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. But don't go away, because on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show under the world of outlaw.
Welcome back to Barcelona. We just watched round 7 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series, and Kane Lasky comes back with aplomb, taking victory here after starting in second. Rob Olenek, we said he had some work to do, and he tried to put that work in, but in the end, he could only get up to second place, so there goes his perfect season so far. Fourth on the grid for him. Still not bad to get his way up 2 spots. Peter Mikus from third to third stays where he is, but still a podium. Daniel Sadro was a distant 17 seconds back. He finished 4th today. Ian Haycox with a P5. Marco Kika takes 6 with Pascal Tremblay. He's going to get some iRating. The number 22 finished 7th out there. Bruce Nelson with an 8th position. Eric Lukel in 9th, and Colin Bentley finishing 10th.
Yeah, looking on 11th on back, David Rossi coming home in that 11th position. Andres Brano at Yeomans, we saw their battle there coming to the line that Terry Worth was able to grab onto the tail end of that. Andrew Eng and Colin Coker coming back in 15th and 16th, uncontested for those spots coming down to the end of the race. They were the last cars to finish on the lead lap, though. Bill Tyler, Chris Bean, Horst Tala, yeah, we saw his accident, as well as Don Goods there. They come home in 19th and 20th.
Then you start to get into DNFs from there. Nicholas Morelli in 21st, Mick Claridge, Matt Morris, Javier Romero, and Borja Valero Casal, the last of your fields. We have our second place finisher ready to talk to us. Rob Oscillation not getting the win today, unfortunately, Rob.
Yeah, he's taking one of Ben's pronunciations.
We've been given some information.
He bribed us. For the record, he bribed us.
Yeah, he does that constantly. He's on my team. He's on Dirty Torque now.
Fantastic.
Yeah. What a great race. That was probably the most fun and the most I've sweat in a 49 race to date.
It certainly looked fun. First of all, let's go to the first time that you went up to the lead, third to first, and essentially 3 corners. What was going through your mind in that moment?
You know, it's almost the same thing happened in yesterday's race, and I knew when they went side by side through one, they were going to be slow, and it sort of sets up a confusing scenario. And then coming into the sharp left, almost the same thing happened yesterday. I'm like, well, I'm doing it again, and it worked. So that was pretty awesome, actually.
Some great heads-up driving in that sense. But once Claridge dropped out, it seemed like you and Peter struggled a little bit to keep up with Kane. Do you think he was the fastest today, or was everybody really this close on pace?
I think Kane is the fastest this week. He's won every race this week. If I didn't mess up, just totally missing my brake marker, I probably could have held him off, but he was still faster. So doesn't always mean you're going to win the race if you're the fastest, though.
So with all the fantastic racing we saw for the lead between you four today, do you have plans to go talk to the FIA officials on some suggestions for the cars for next season?
What do you mean? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Teasing about the fact that you guys were able to race so close that without the wings on the cars compared to the way F1 races around here.
Oh, okay. I don't know, this particular track, I only ran it a tiny bit when it came out in the new Audi, and I didn't even spend enough time to learn it. It's great in this car. And I hope we put this on the schedule a lot more. It just leads to really close, tight racing. It's hard to make the pass, but you can do it. So, I mean, it's not one of those you just have to follow and wait for a mistake. And it's a really fun layout to drive. Fits the car well, I think.
It looked like a lot of fun from our perspective. Well, commiserations on not getting the perfect score this season, but you're still well within the championship, sir.
All right, and thanks to I hope Kane comes back. He's a really fun guy to race with too. So I'll see you guys later.
That was Rob Olenek, I'll say it right this time, who finished second today. In fact, our winner is ready to talk to us, and Adam has caught up with Kane Lasky.
Yeah, Kane, I tell you what, that was a hard-earned win. Let's see, something happened here. Kane fell out. Trying to get him back. Hey, there he is. Hey, Kane, you got me?
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hey, Kane, we're doing just fine. I imagine you're doing pretty good right now yourself. Very hard-earned victory for you today. Go ahead and tell us about that run to the win.
Yeah, it was probably about as tough from behind the seat as it looked in the in the booth.
It seemed like, I know we had Rob Olenek in here right before you, and he was saying he's never sweat that much trying to run one of these races. So physically challenging as well, it sounds like.
Yeah, this car reminds me a lot of racing superbikes. There's not a lot of grip, and it's something you want to drive just below the limit. Very difficult to drive on the limit for a long time. And this being a European style track, precision is better than aggression because the corners are long, and any little mistake is going to be magnified. And that's the hardest part about this car, is to drive it just up to the limit and then 1% below.
Well, out of everybody there in the top three, you were able to pull that off the most here for today with the fewest amount of mistakes. Now, these guys, of course, they are. It's a long season for them. I know you don't necessarily make every race, but are you going to try to make any of the upcoming ones here? I know we're going to Coda next, and Michigan, Interlagos, all on the schedule.
Yeah, I really love driving this car. It reminds me of Days of Thunder. 50 laps your way, 50 laps my way, and you can drive this car both ways. And today, I think just this type of track lends to being smoother. I travel a lot, and my internet connection isn't always solid, so I don't want to jump into the broadcast race and ruin somebody's race. But hopefully, I'll be in a few more.
Okay, and happy to have you. And with the Days of Thunder reference, we really hope to see you at Michigan here in just a few weeks. Go enjoy your win. Appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day. Thanks for all the good racing, everybody else.
That was our winner, Kane Lasky, talking to us about how his race went. And unfortunately, a DNF today for Mick Claridge, who's joined us post-race. Mick, I only just managed to have time to go and look back. Was there suspension damage on the car from a ghost contact? Is that what took you out in the end?
Yeah, it was when we was all crossed up into the slow right-hander. Kane lost the car there, and I tried to do the over-under and go down the inside, and Peter wasn't expecting me to do that, and he just clipped the right rear. So yeah, I had a bent rear suspension on there.
But before that, my goodness, you four were certainly giving us some excitement to watch. I mean, from your perspective, what was it like in the cockpit?
Well, Joe, you must have. Did anyone get the chance to say wheel-to-wheel stuff when we were going down the front straight there?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I said that exact quote, but I definitely referenced Mansell and Senna.
Yeah. I couldn't believe we done that. I can't even remember how that got up to that point, but we was together down that straight. And, I'm using the rift, so I was looking to the left to see where he was. I couldn't see the front wheel anywhere. I think it was more me than him that moved. So I'm so glad that we was able to carry on, especially for Kane, because he's been so fast this week. I couldn't believe how quick he was today, It's been like that for the last, Thursday race he raced. I didn't even race because I was so off the pace. Friday he was really quick, and then look at him today. Just unbelievable. But yeah, that was just unbelievable battling through the whole of that. I mean, I think I was the slowest out of the four of us, really, when you include Peter there. But up the tyres in qualifying, up the tyre pressures in qualifying, get it on pole and just block them,
I mentioned your strategy at one point after you had talked to us pre-race, but clearly Rob loves having this track on the schedule, and I think we in the booth agree that was incredible fun to watch. What about your thoughts? Is this one that you think that deserves to continue to show up a lot?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I've really had to change the setup on the car. I mean, I've done a lot of practice this week, to be honest with you, and really changed the setup on the car to get it to be quick, and only really sort of nailed the setup this morning. But yeah, I mean, so it's a bit of a weird track for me. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't like it. If it's going to produce racing like that, then yeah, definitely you got to keep it on there. Yeah, good racing. I wonder what it would have been like if Michelle was here.
Ooh, that is enticing to think about. We'll hopefully get him back someday and see all five of you, I guess, at this point, duke it out. Well, again, commiserations on today, and Well, hopefully we'll get to talk to you at least in the booth next week.
Yeah, no, I'll be back in there with you next week, mate.
Fantastic stuff. That was Mick Claridge. Unfortunately, 22nd out of 25 today. But we're going to close up, of course, with a big thank you to the Lotus 49 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, and also to iRacing. Thanks for bringing us on to the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure you subscribe to their channel. All you got to do is click the big red button. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go out to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Also, thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. Going to another modern track next week. That'll be Circuit of the Americas, Saturday, November 2nd at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.